The presence of Ngozi, Ken's sister, became a thorn in Lucy's flesh. She constantly lied against her and reported that to her mom and sisters. They would gossip and laugh at Lucy, their voices carrying an undertone of malice, and then plan on what next to do to humiliate her. Though Ngozi and her sisters were married, they usually visited Ken's house regularly, dressed in bright, flashy outfits, just to humiliate Lucy. Ngozi would lie against Lucy, and when Ken returned, he didn't bother to hear or listen to Lucy's side of the story, but he would beat her up. One hot afternoon, while Ken was at work and Lucy was washing the dishes, Ngozi took the pot of food Lucy had prepared for Ken and poured it on the floor. The aroma of freshly cooked stew mixed bitterly with the smell of her cruelty. She knew it was almost time for Ken to return, so she did it because she knew Ken would beat her up if he returned, and didn't see his food ready at the dining table. Lucy got so fed up with Ngozi's ill treatment, and for the first time she spoke back at her. "What is wrong with you?" she said, her voice trembling but firm. "You left your husband's house only to cause trouble in mine. You said I have only girls, but you don't have one to show that you're a woman. I'm sure your husband drove you out of the house. That's why you're here pretending to have come for holidays. You think I don't know?" Ngozi was so mad and tried to slap Lucy, but Lucy held her hand and gave her a very hot slap. The sound echoed through the kitchen like a whip cracking against injustice. She pushed her down and beat her until she was satisfied. "At least, even if your brother beats me when he returns, I have satisfied my long desire to beat you up. Now I'm ready for you and all your useless sisters and your witch of a mother, including your brother." Ngozi was as cold as someone who had just had an ice bath. She sat quietly, pondering on what had happened. The shock of Lucy's newfound courage left her reeling. So this girl is this strong, so she can now stand up for herself. That means we are all in trouble, she said in her heart. After the beating she received, she couldn't give a situation report to her mom and sisters as usual. She never expected what she saw. When Ken returned, just as expected, he tried to beat Lucy after Ngozi had lied to him. But she said, "If you try it, I'll pack my things and leave with my kids, and you will never see us. Don't think I'll return to the village. I will be in the city, and I will survive, and you will suffer because I will curse you." Ken's hand immediately dropped like a branch of a tree that had been felled down by an ancient saw. He was speechless. The veins on his forehead, which usually bulged when he was angry, softened. "This girl has been talking to someone, and who could that be?" he said. He had never seen her in that fashion. Lucy had been saving some money in a monthly contribution which she would collect at the end of the year. She wanted to use the money for a building project. It was a lot of money. The woman who she does the savings with usually comes on a monthly basis to collect the money. She had previously advised Ken about his behavior towards his wife, but he wouldn't listen. Ken talked so much about his savings for the building project. He made a lot of noise about it. The woman often advised him to keep it to himself. "Don't let anyone know, including your sisters and your mom." "How dare you talk about my mom and sisters in that manner? Are you mad?" "I know what I'm saying," Lucy insisted. "They don't love you as much as you think. If they love you, they will advise you to work on your marriage and not tear it down themselves. I saw them doing something terrible to you in my dreams." But Ken didn't believe her. Rather, He dismissed her. "Leave my presence this minute," he said. When Ngozi found out about the money, she quickly called her mom and told her. The next day, Ngozi traveled to the village to see her mom. Her sisters were already there. They started planning on how to get the money. "How do we get the money? We need to do something to him so that when he is out of the way, we can collect the money from the savings woman." "So, how do we get him out of the way?" Ngozi asked. "Let's kill him," Mama Ken said. The girls shouted, "Mom," in shock at what their mom had said. "How can you even think of killing your own son?" "Shut up! Who told you he's my son?" "What do you mean? Is he not our brother?" "No, he's not. I was at the risk of losing my marriage because of a male child. After giving birth to 2 daughters, that is, your elder sisters, I was told by my in-laws that if I gave birth to another female, I would be sent out of the house. I had to come up with a plan. I had an arrangement with a nurse to help me scout for a newborn male child that I could buy. So she met a very poor woman who was pregnant with twins, and she arranged to buy one of her babies for an agreed amount of money. When the nurse told me about the woman, I was very happy. I was pregnant at about the same time as the woman, and I was carrying another female child. Just 3 days after the woman gave birth, I also had my third girl. But unfortunately, she died. The son I bought was brought in place of my late child. Your father never had problems with me giving birth to girls, but his family was a thorn in my flesh. When your father returned from his trip and saw his son, he was very happy. His family then accepted me, even though I gave birth to another female. But the headache wasn't that much anymore because they had seen a male child. And you kept this from us all this while. It's my secret and not yours." "No, that it doesn't look like any of us," they said. "I have kept it all these years. I don't even know where the nurse is. I don't even know where the nurse is. I haven't met the woman before, and she doesn't even know me. I only sent the money, so my secret had been pretty safe. I don't want anyone to know about this." "Ah, Mama, don't you trust us?" Mama went to see an herbalist. He gave her a charm, and she gave it to Ngozi to take along with her to the city. It is meant to be added to his meal, and it will slowly drain the living life out of him. The next day, Ngozi prepared Ken's food by herself and added the substance. After 3 days, Ken started feeling feverish. He was tired and couldn't go to work. After a week, it became severe. Ngozi gave a situation report to her mom and sisters about the current condition of him, and they were very happy as they spoke on the phone. Mama Ken called Ken and told him to come to the village so she could take care of him by herself. But Lucy had already spoken with the savings woman, who was a devout Christian and prayed a lot. She had stopped by and prayed for him, and he was already getting better. When his mother asked him to come to the village, Lucy warned him, "I don't have a good feeling about this, your travel. Remember, I told you that I saw your mom and sister did something terrible to you. They actually killed you in that dream. Please don't go." But he didn't believe her. "How can my own mother and sisters that love me so much kill me? You're just saying nonsense," he said. When Lucy saw that she couldn't convince him, she called the savings woman and begged her to speak with him. She spoke with him and also confirmed what Lucy had seen. "I have equally seen something similar. Please, I too don't have a good feeling about this, your travel." But he didn't listen. 2 days later, Ken went to the village, and his health, that was already getting better, became worse because Mama Ken cooked with the substance for him. Ken's father had died at the age of 75 and had been buried, so there was really no one to stop them. They wanted to take everything he had, including the savings money and the furniture company, and then send Lucy and her kids away empty. 7 days later, Ken died. Lucy and her daughters were summoned to the village before the elders and Ken's kinsmen. Her mother and sisters-in-law had accused her of poisoning her husband and sending him to the village to die. She was summoned before the village priest and some incantations were made. She was given a maximum of 3 months to die if she was guilty and if she didn't confess. Mama Ken and her daughters went to the city and packed all of Ken's belongings, including all the furniture in the shop, leaving Lucy and her daughters with nothing. They couldn't find the documents of the company and the house, so they took everything they could lay hold of. When Lucy returned, she met an empty house. She cried, "Where do I start from? No money, no business, no help." Meanwhile, Ken's mom had already called the savings woman and requested the money, but the woman told her that the money had legal grounds to remain with her until the set time he was supposed to take it. Lucy called the savings woman and explained everything to her. "Ma, I don't even have food to eat. They took everything. I met a completely empty building, including the goods in the furniture shop." She was surprised. "This is wickedness," she said. "I'll make sure they don't get a hold of this money. Let them go with everything. Do you know where the documents of the company are?" "Yes," Lucy responded. "As if I knew. When he traveled, I was moved to hide the documents, so I gave them to a neighbor to keep for me, including the documents of the house where we live." "Good. This is your starting point. You will sell the company building and sell the empty house they left, and I will relocate you to another city. I will help you buy an apartment for you and your kids with the money and set up any business of your choice for you, so you can start from there. You can live a better life with your kids for once." Then she gave her some food items to eat with her kids. While Lucy was feeling sorry for her husband, who had met his early grief because of his stubbornness, Ken appeared to her, crying and begging her for her forgiveness. "I know it's too late now, but please forgive me. I should have listened to you. I thought they loved me. I never knew they could be this wicked. I'm sorry for the way I maltreated you. You deserved more, and I'm sorry. I have forgiven you. I wish you were alive to love me and your kids like we've always longed for. But now you're gone," she kept crying. And before she knew it, he disappeared, and she woke up. It was a dream. She cried profusely. "Ken, I warned you, but you didn't listen. Now you're dead," she kept crying. That night, he appeared to her again, telling her to do as the savings woman had said and leave the environment, else they will kill her and her kids. "They will pay for everything," he said, and she woke up again. Mama Ken called the woman again and made a lot of trouble with her, telling her to bring her son's money, else she will look for her and deal with her. "Or else what? You, a tasteless woman, do you want to kill me like you and your daughters killed an innocent man because of your greed? And then you took everything away from that poor orphan with 3 kids. Where do you want her to go with the kids? I will expose you if you call me again about this money. You've taken everything. This money is for Lucy and her 3 daughters. Neither the woman nor Lucy had proof of what Ken's mom and sisters did to Ken, but they knew his mom and sister had killed him because they had seen it in their dreams. Mama Ken became scared. How did she know that it was I and my daughters that killed Ken? She tried to kill the savings woman, but the herbalist told her to leave her alone if she didn't want to die. Your daughter-in-law is now under her coverage. You've taken enough, so let her be. While Mama Ken was returning from the herbalist's place, not satisfied with what the herbalist had said, in her heart, she was still thinking of how to kill the woman and Lucy. When something like lightning struck her, she fell down and screamed, "Please don't kill me! Don't kill me!" And the next thing, she ran mad. Instead of confessing everything she did while she was running, 7 days later, she died. Ngozi and her sisters were sent out of their husbands' houses back to the village, and they were equally banished from their village because they supported their evil mother. They wandered about, moving from place to place with no rest for their body, spirit, and soul. Lucy was taken to another city. The savings woman bought a beautiful apartment for her and her kids, and a very big supermarket was also given to her. The kids attended a good school. She went back to school and later graduated as an economist. Years later, Lucy married the savings woman's elder brother, who was a widower. He was a very wealthy and influential man. He also had 2 grown-up daughters who were married already. Lucy later gave birth to twin boys. She was treated like she was the only woman in the whole world. She was so blessed that the years of her suffering could not be remembered. Everyone in the family loved her, including his daughters and siblings, and his daughters treated her like their mother. All her years of hardship became a stepping stone to a beautiful end. This story offers a valuable lesson about the dangers of blind trust, even within family or close relationships. Ken's stubbornness and refusal to heed the warnings from Lucy, his loving wife, ultimately led to his tragic end. It reminds us of the importance of humility, listening, and valuing the advice of those who genuinely care about us. Additionally, the story highlights the destructive power of greed and betrayal. Mama Ken and her daughters allowed their selfish desires to overshadow basic human decency, leading to their own downfall. This serves as a warning that greed and cruelty not only harm others, but also ultimately destroy those who perpetuate them. Finally, Lucy's journey demonstrates that with resilience, faith, and timely support, we can overcome even the toughest challenges and find true happiness. It is a powerful reminder to stay strong in the face of adversity and believe that brighter days lie ahead. Thank you for watching my channel. Stay tuned for more meaningful stories and life lessons. Once upon a time, in a small village called Zumbira, there lived a very beautiful girl called Nina. She was well known by all the villagers because of her confidence and jovial nature. However, there was something about Nina that made some of the villagers dislike her. This was the fact that Nina was a terrible gossip who had a very bad habit of poking her nose into people's businesses and spreading false rumors and half-stories about the villagers. Whenever Nina came across 2 or more people having a conversation, she would often insert herself into the conversation without being invited and start poisoning the minds of the villagers, conning them against each other. She would whisper into the ears of the villagers, sharing captivating and intriguing tales about other people, which spread like wildfire in a short time among the villagers, causing hate and malice among them. Nina often positioned herself near the village market or at the central square, where gossip could travel fast. She made it a hobby to poke her nose into other people's business, saying bad things about them. Her favorite time to gossip was in the late evening, after the villagers had finished their chores and gathered under the big baobab tree to relax. Do you know that Chief Beako is having an affair with that young widow, Mrs. Lammy? I saw him sneaking into her house yesterday night, looking left and right to be sure no one could see him. Ah, Nina, how did you know what? If he just went there to check up on her, it's not possible at that time of the night. Why didn't he go to meet her during the day? Do you even know that Moji is a thief? I saw him uprooting some yams in someone's farm yesterday. Nina, what if he was employed by the owner of the farm to harvest all the crops if it was true? Then why was he secretly doing it when no one was around her? Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Danjo, were very peaceful people and well respected in the village. They knew of their daughter's bad habits and would often advise her to change her ways and stop spreading bad rumors because of the pain and mistrust it would cause among the villagers. But Nina was very stubborn and refused to listen to them. She was addicted to the attention and the feeling of importance she got when people often gathered around her to listen to her gossip. Words are like broken eggs, Nina. Once they come out of the heart, they can never be fixed, her father would say while sharpening his farming tools. Nina, please stop spreading false rumors and stop discussing other people's business. It's very wrong to do so, her mother told her as she pounded yam for the family dinner. Her parents would often advise her, but Nina refused to listen to their words of advice. As time went on, Nina's gossiping and false rumors became more malicious. She started spreading lies about prominent leaders, and when there was no story to tell, she would cook up lies about them just to get people's attention. She enjoyed the dramatic reactions of her audience as they leaned in, hanging on her every word. Nina's father was a well-respected elder and a part of the king's cabinet. Whenever the king had a meeting with his elders, Nina would run to her friends and begin to tell them lies about the discussion her father had with the king. This often caused confusion and chaos within the village. It didn't take long before the villagers started avoiding her and warning their children to stay away from Nina so she would not poison their minds. The village elders and the wise chiefs of the village summoned Nina and advised her to stop her habit of spreading false rumors, but she refused to listen to them. She continued spreading false rumors about people in Zombira village, and most of the villagers would believe her words. However, it didn't take long until some of the villagers started to avoid her out of fear that her tales would put them into trouble. One fateful day, Nina was on her way back from the market when she saw Akosa, a well-known widow. Akosa lost her children and husband many years ago to a wild beast that attacked them while they were working on the farm. Ever since then, she had been staying alone at the edge of the village, away from the other villagers, mourning and grieving the loss of her family members. She visited the market once every week to buy foodstuffs, and no one ever visited her. When Nina saw Akosa, she looked at the basket Akosa was carrying and saw some vegetables inside, which she had gone to buy from the market. Nina greeted Akosa and went her way, but when she got to the market, she started spreading false rumors about Akosa. Do you know that old widow Akosa is a witch? She's the one responsible for the death of her husband and children many years ago. It wasn't an ordinary beast that killed them. Akosa sacrificed her husband and children in exchange for spiritual powers. That's why she doesn't live in the village like the rest of us. She picked the house at the edge of the village so no one would see her when she starts practicing her witchcraft. I saw the spiritual herbs she often uses today. Ha, are you sure of this thing you are saying, please? Mind what you say before you put that old widow into trouble. But Nina refused to listen. She continued spreading the false rumor about Akosa, telling anyone who cared to listen. Before long, the rumor about Akosa spread like wildfire in the village of Zumbira because they had no tolerance for witches, and anyone found guilty of being a witch was either buried alive or banished from the village, It didn't take long before the rumors got to the ears of the king. When the king heard this, he was very angry and furious. So he sent his guards to summon Nina to the palace. They took Nina to the palace. They took Nina to see the king in order to defend herself and her words. A lot of questions were asked, and Nina covered them up to the best of her ability, fabricating more lies to cover up the story she sold to the villagers because of the punishment that awaited her if it was discovered that I was wrongly tarnishing the image of the old, lonely widow. However, despite the story she fabricated, the elders and chiefs were not satisfied with the answers she gave. So, the king sent his guards once again to summon Akosa to the palace. Unfortunately, when the palace guards got to Akosa's house, they saw her cooking some leaves in a very big pot. Without asking questions, the guards concluded that Akosa must be a witch, just as Nina had said. They believed she was boiling charms inside the pot because of the offensive odor that erupted from the pot. When they took Akosa to the palace, the king told her, "Nina here accused you of being a witch. She also said you are the reason behind the death of your husband and children. What do you have to say in your defense?" Akosa, who was old with gray hair and feeble bones, looked at Nina, who stood opposite her. Nina was unable to look her in the eye because of how guilty she felt. She had not the slightest idea that her rumor about Akosa would be taken this far. She had merely fabricated the tale and told her friends to entertain them and capture their attention. But now she had no choice but to continue fabricating more lies in order to escape punishment at the expense of Akosa's life. A lot of villagers were already gathered at the palace to witness the trial to see if Nina would finally be punished for her costly rumors and gossip, or if indeed all she had been saying was nothing but the truth. Akosa took a deep breath and asked Nina with tears in her eyes, "Did you really say I'm a witch? How did you arrive at such a wicked conclusion? What reason would I have to kill my own loving husband and my adorable children? A witch has no reason to kill. It's in their blood. That's why the villagers want nothing to do with them. I saw you inside the forest wearing a red cloth. I hid and I watched you as you rubbed all your body with the blood of God knows what, while singing a strange song I have never heard before. You felt no one was watching you, but I saw you. My daughter, what offense have I committed that you would lay such a dangerous accusation on me? Have I wronged you in any way?" Akosa asked. But Nina stood her ground and insisted that all she was saying was nothing but the truth. Suddenly, one of the guards who was sent to summon Akosa revealed himself and told everyone that they saw her boiling charms inside a small pot when they got to her house. Akosa wanted to defend herself and tell them that it was just a herbal mixture for malaria, but they gave her no chance to speak. The circumstances surrounding the death of her husband and children were suspicious, so they strongly believed in what Nina said. The villagers started yelling angrily at Akosa, calling her a witch. Witch, burn her, kill her. She deserves to die, heartless woman, evil woman, banish her. They kept screaming at the top of their voices. The king observed that the palace compound was turning into a marketplace, so he screamed at the crowd. Quiet down, he stood up from his throne and called for silence. Then he looked at Akosa, who already had tears on her face, and said, "This honorable panel finds you guilty of these accusations. This honorable panel finds you guilty of these accusations. We have concluded that you are a witch, and you killed your husband and children. In this village, we do not have tolerance for witches, and there are consequences for murder. I would leave your fate for the villagers to decide." The king turned to the villagers and asked them what punishment would best suit Akosa, the branded witch. Once again, the villagers started screaming out their different opinions. Kill her, bury her, alive burn her, on a stake behead her death by poison, drown her. The noise of the crowd grew louder, echoing through the village as children hiding behind their parents looked on with wide, fearful eyes. When the noises were getting too much, and once again, with no concrete answer, the king calmed the crowd and turned to Nina. "You are the one who uncovered her evil acts. If it weren't for you, none of us would have found out what and who she truly is. So I want you to be the one to decide what we should do to her." Nina felt deeply hurt, and her heart was filled with regret, but she knew she had to see it through to the end, or the rage of the villagers would be directed towards her. After thinking for a while, Nina chose the safest punishment. "She's already old and with little life left in her. I think we should just banish her and burn down her house. There's nowhere she can go, so the beasts of the forest would kill her in the same manner she killed her, in the same manner she killed her husband and children." The king nodded his head in approval, and the villagers admired Nina's judgment. So Akosa was banished from the village. The villagers followed her behind, throwing rotten food items on her, and calling her all manner of wicked names as she wept and staggered down the path which led out of the village. A group of village boys jeered at her while throwing pebbles, and some older women whispered prayers for protection from her supposed witchcraft. When Akosa got to the entrance of the village, she turned around with tears in her eyes. Then she bent down and carried some sand in her hand. With a broken heart, she said, "If indeed I am a witch and I have wronged you, may you live to prosper as you grow. But if I haven't wronged you, yet you lied against me and banished me from my home, then for each word you speak, a part of your body will keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you can bear it no more." After Akosa said this, she left the village with tears streaming down her eyes. The villagers praised Nina for unveiling the true identity of the old widow. She got more recognition, and everyone showered her with love and praises whenever they saw her. The elders even invited her to sit closer to them at village gatherings. But deep within Nina's heart, she felt deep guilt, even as she enjoyed the praises that she was showered with. The villagers began to take her word more seriously, and her rumors were always taken seriously. Unknown to Nina, she had made a mistake that she would regret for the rest of her life. 1 month after the punishment of Akosa, the old widow, Nina woke up one morning feeling energetic as always. As she sat on her mat and thought of a lie to fabricate, she noticed that both her legs were swollen and very heavy to carry. Nina became very scared and screamed for help, but the more she screamed, the bigger her legs got. What is happening to me? Nina asked herself. But she noticed that her legs even got bigger at the few words she spoke. It was then that Nina recalled the curse which Akosa, the old widow, placed on her before she left the village in pain and agony. By the time her parents returned from the farm, they were shocked to see Nina lying on the mat with swollen legs, swollen arms, and a big stomach. It was as if she was pumped like a balloon. Mama, Papa, I'm sorry, Nina said weakly, but her stomach added more in size again. Her parents were very worried and scared, so they went to call the village spiritual healer to come to their aid. When the spiritual healer arrived, he made some incantations to communicate with the gods, and he told Nina's parents that their daughter had chewed more than she could swallow. The healer threw cowrie shells on the ground and muttered sacred words, his expression grave, but they didn't understand what he meant. The village spiritual healer did some more incantations and revealed to Nina and her parents that Nina wrongly said bad things about someone which led to her untimely death. The only way to save your daughter is that she would confess in front of the whole village and right the wrongs she did. After he said this, he left. Nina's parents had no choice. They took their daughter to the village square, where the villagers were gathered, looking at Nina with disdain and surprise, asking each other what must have happened to her. The children whispered and pointed, while the elders folded their arms, their faces stern with judgment. When the entire village was present, Nina started confessing all the wrong things and the false rumors she had told the villagers. As she talked, some of the villagers met each other and reconciled their differences that were caused due to Nina's rumors. A lot of relationships were mended as Nina talked, but when she talked about Akosa, the old widow, the villagers were very upset with Nina for being so heartless and wicked, despite how much Akosa pleaded and cried before her. Immediately, she finished confessing about lying against Akosa, the old widow. Her body parts became so swollen and heavy that her parents couldn't carry her. Nina died shamefully at the village square, and the moment she died, her swollen parts reduced so fast until only her skeleton was left. The king refused to release her skeleton and left it at the village square as a warning to others who often spread false rumors about people. Her parents were so heartbroken from her death and would often advise other children not to follow Nina's path. Her skeletal remains stood as a grim reminder under the large baobab tree where she once sat to gossip. The moral lesson of this story reminds us that it is wise to say the truth at all times, because telling one lie means you have to tell other lies to cover up the lies, to cover up the first lie. Be mindful of the words you believe. Not everything you hear is true. Some of them may be fabricated to tarnish the image of someone else. Do not poke your nose into other people's business. Avoid rumors and gossip as much as you can, and do not always judge people based on what you hear about them. The story of Nina serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of dishonesty and the harm caused by gossip. On this channel, we explore stories that inspire truth, integrity, and personal growth, urging us to reflect on the values that shape our lives and communities. Let these lessons encourage us to build bridges of trust and compassion rather than walls of suspicion and division. Remember, your words hold power, use them wisely. Stay tuned for more stories that awaken the heart and empower the mind. This woman named Anna left her 3-year-old son home alone with her neighbor's dog to go out and party with her friends. But what she saw when she came back from the party was so devastating. Here's what happened. Once upon a time, in a small African town, there was a beautiful woman named Anna. Anna was as beautiful as the morning sun. People loved her because of her beauty and her lively spirit. She had a way of making everyone laugh, and no one could resist her charm. Anna had been married 3 times before, but she never had a child. She always dreamed of having a big family, but somehow that never happened. Anna loved to go to parties. Oh yes, Anna was always the life of any gathering. Whether it was a family gathering, a town meeting, or a big celebration, she couldn't resist the fun, the laughter, and the chance to show off her beauty. She had many friends, and among them were 2 special ones. These were her best friends, the ones who always gave her advice, and Anna trusted them. They told her to never stop living her life and to enjoy herself no matter what. Her first husband, however, was not so happy with Anna's ways. He didn't like how she spent so much time with her friends and went to so many parties. He was a quiet man who liked peace, but Anna loved excitement. She would invite her friends over to gossip and laugh, and this made her husband very angry. Anna, you need to slow down and focus on us, he would tell her. But Anna didn't listen. She enjoyed being surrounded by her friends more than anything else. This went on for a while, but soon her first husband had had enough. He told Anna, "If you keep on like this, we will not last." But Anna didn't want to change, and so her first marriage ended. She didn't shed a tear because she was sure that she would find another man. After all, she was still young, beautiful, and everyone in town loved her. Not long after, Anna got married again, but just like before, Anna never listened to her husband's complaints about her partying. She was always busy with her friends, laughing, talking, and planning their next big party. One day, Anna was in the kitchen preparing rice porridge. The pot was on the fire, the smell of spices filling the air. But before the rice could even soften, her friends arrived, their laughter breaking through the walls like a sudden storm. "Anna, come and hear what happened to Mama Lucy at the market," one of them shouted. Without a second thought, Anna wiped her hands on her wrapper and rushed outside. They sat under the big neem tree, giggling and whispering like birds in the early morning. They talked and laughed until the sun began to set. Anna got so caught up with the gossip and the excitement that she forgot all about the food on the fire. Her friends were in her house, talking and laughing, and Anna didn't notice the smoke that started rising from the kitchen. By the time Anna remembered, the smoke was thick, and the fire had already started to spread. The flames danced high in the air, and Anna rushed to put it out, but it was too late. The whole kitchen was burning, and soon the fire spread to the rest of the house. Anna's husband came rushing home, his face turning pale when he saw the fire. He was so angry, his voice trembling as he shouted, "Look at what you've done, Anna. You were too busy with your friends to care about our home. The fire burned everything. It took away the things they had worked so hard for, and it left Anna's husband with nothing but disappointment and rage." Anna felt terrible, but she didn't know how to fix it. Her husband, feeling hopeless, turned to her and said, "I can't live like this anymore. Pack your things and leave." Anna didn't say a word. She knew he was right, but she didn't want to lose him. Her husband couldn't forgive her, and with a heavy heart he sent her away. Anna's heart sank. She ran to her friends for advice. Beg him for what? One of them said,